So I think it's fair to say that the entire community, including myself, has some growing concern after the last patch from yesterday and what it did to the actual stats of the game. Since the update yesterday, I have pro'd 4 Emerald cards, starting with Zion Williamson, we have Andrew Bogut, we have DeAndre Hunter, and we have E'Twaun Moore. Now, 2 of these cards, the E'Twaun Moore and the Zion Williamson, keep those in mind because I'm going to show you gameplay of those in quick game in a little bit. But you notice that all 4 of those cards have lower stats than any of my previous Emeralds. And from what I understand, Zion Williamson is, I think, the 7th best Emerald in the game right now. So you ask yourself, how can the 7th best Emerald in the game be so low when compared to all the other, 10 Emerald Pros that I have in there right now that I did pro previous to the patch? Now, yesterday, NBA SuperCard did put it in maintenance mode, and they did reply with, "We have addressed bugs and prepped for our first set of special edition cards later this week." Now, we soon discovered that a lot of the stats, or all of the stats, on all of the cards have been lowered. From pros to base tier cards to everything. Pretty much all the stats were lowered. Now, before this patch, I don't know exactly what they were addressing as far as the stats go, but there was a visual bug in the catalog when you would pull a card on the draft board. For whatever reason, sometimes that card would have higher stats than everything else, but then if you locked it and then unlocked it and leveled it up and all that stuff, then it like reset itself and put the stats where it should be. But a lot of times you would pull cards and the stats would be quite a bit higher than the actual base stats of that card. Now, I don't know if that's what they were addressing exactly, but someone did post this and said, I was in Sapphire Plus and now they're just in Sapphire Tier. So what they responded with was, we discovered an issue with card stats and made adjustments. Apologies for the inconvenience. Well, it turns out what it looks like is they've actually caused more problems now than previous patch. During the stream yesterday, we did have a lot of users report, at least, and say in the stream that they were, Sapphire Tier, they are now Emerald Plus Plus, or they were Sapphire Plus, and then they moved to Sapphire, because they lowered the stats of the cards. Now, I assume, that personally didn't happen to me because I was in the middle of the bar of Sapphire Plus already, because I do have a Sapphire Pro. So even though it might have lowered my stats, it wouldn't have lowered them enough to put me in the tier below me. But a lot of people did report that, hey, I was a tier above, now I'm not, what happened to the stats? And I assume that that's from the previous stats of previous cards they did. But I really don't know, because mine did not go down for the cards that I pro'd previous to the patch. But there were some users that did post these pictures, and one of this in particular, update messed up the pro stats. Now, this picture is of the Jeremiah Grant after the patch. Now, if you look at his stats compared to the stats of the card that was pro'd previous to the patch, you can see a significant difference between those two cards. Now, why did not all of the cards in everybody's deck, all of the pros and all of that stuff go down when only some of them went down, and the cards that you pro after the patch are not the same as cards pro'd previous to patch? And of course, NBA SuperCard decided, or just didn't respond to that message. And here's another post from another user. As you can see, we have 2 of the exact same cards, one pro'd previous patch, one pro'd post patch, and you can see that both of the cards, even though you can't see the stats, you can just tell by the order in which they are as far as the Emerald Pros. The one that was pro'd, this one right here, post patch, is significantly lower than all the rest of the Emerald Pros that this user already has in his deck. Now, I'm not here to criticize the fact that they lowered the stats of the cards. I'm okay with it as long as they had a purpose for doing it. If there was some bug or some glitch or something like that in the game and they needed to lower the stats of the cards, then that's fine. The problem is that it actually has, from what I've seen, affected the game modes, and that is certainly a problem when it comes to the games. Now, everybody that pros cards from post-patch on has lower stats on all of the cards. If they want to leave pre-update cards alone for whatever reason and can't lower those stats, then whatever. You know what? It bothers me, but as long as it doesn't affect the gameplay, I'm okay with it, but it actually does affect the gameplay. Now, these are screenshots in which I have taken from today playing the AI in quick game. Now, my cards are on the bottom, their cards are on the top. And if you look at the first picture, we have Jaren Jackson and his pro stats, 324, 316, 301, 276. Now, those are the normal pre-update stats, and if we look at my Jaren Jackson, which is we have down here below, that is the exact stats that I have on my card pre-update. So in the quick game, I am playing Emerald Pros in which have pre-updated stats before all of the stats were lowered. Next card that they have is a Zion Williamson. Now, the ability did trigger, so his stats are actually on offense and rebounding 10 lower. So 322, I couldn't get the picture fast enough in order to get the pre stat boost, but 322, 297, 315, and 300 Zion Williamson in quick game. And here is my Zion Williamson that I pro'd up post patch: 301, 278, 295, and 281. Now, to me, that is a huge problem. The AI has cards from pre-update or stat decrease. And the cards in there, if I was to play the Zion Williamson at that time, which I don't, he's not one of my best Emeralds, so he's not in my deck, but we do have a Gauntlet coming soon. And if we have to face cards that are exactly the same, but yet all of their stats are higher than our stats on the Emerald Pros, that is going to be a serious problem. And that is a serious problem, and that does cause alarming concern for me. The fact that they not only did they not address it in any of the Twitter posts, any of the replies, but the fact that it's still bugged 24 hours later, they still haven't addressed it, and maybe they'll get to it before the Gauntlet starts if it does start this weekend. But the fact that they have still pre-updated stats playing the AI, I mean, these are AI games that I'm playing in quick game, and all of their stats are boosted. All those people that are proing up Emeralds right now can't even beat those cards because their Emeralds aren't even close to as good as the one that the AI has. And then we have another one from the AI pre-updated stats. We have the Etoile Moore, 307, 285, 284, 297. This is against the AI deck. And if you look at mine post-update, 288, 266, 264, and 278. Now, this is, like I said, a serious issue. This affects gameplay when it comes to the game modes in the game. When we're playing the AI, when we're playing the decks that the AI has, those decks that have all of these pre-updated stats in there, how are we going to be able to beat Emeralds that are already better than us to begin with? Like, these cards cannot compete with each other. This is almost 20 points in every single stat category lower if you pro them after the update, but yet we're going to have to face them in the Gauntlet, going to have to face them in quick game. This does not make sense and absolutely is incredibly disappointing to go from they said they were fixing the stats in the game, but they even made them worse. Now, I'm not exactly sure what they're going to do about it. All I know is that this has certainly affected pretty much every single player across the board. It has certainly taken my mood from playing the game to disappointment and dread and fear, and the fact that the very first patch in which they say they addressed some issues caused more issues than supposedly they were fixing, all before our first event, all before they're supposedly releasing new special edition cards, which to me makes it seem like the only reason they lowered stats is so they could put out these special edition cards. I don't know if that's the case, because special edition cards do need to have better stats than base cards, but not quite as good as event cards. And so they have to smash them somewhere in the middle, and maybe there was just no room, so they had to lower the stats of all base tier cards. I don't know if that's the reason. It's just speculation. But this is definitely something that needs to be addressed like right now. Why it's taken another 24 hours and they still haven't given any word on it, still haven't addressed it, still haven't fixed it. They need to fix all these cards. If they're going to lower cards, they need to lower all of them, including the ones that we have to face in the AI decks. Now, that doesn't even factor into the fact that it appears that they have also changed the pull rates in the game. Yesterday during the stream, we pulled 40 golds in a row. I went 40 gold. I am Sapphire Plus and went 40 golds in a row since post update, before I pulled my first non-gold. It was a Sapphire, granted. It was a Sapphire. I did get a pull, but I had approximately 65 or 70 resets pre-patch, and I pulled, I think, 6 sapphires and like 12 emeralds or something like that pre-patch. Since post-patch, since then, I've had about 100 resets, and I'm not even kidding here. I've pulled 1 single emerald and 2 sapphires since post-patch. Now, those pull rates are atrocious compared to previous, since pre-patch, right? Now, obviously, we don't know exactly what the pull rates are, so I can't speculate, but I did hear that during the stream, people were saying they pulled this many golds in a row, can't pull sapphires, can't pull emeralds. I am pulling them, but nowhere near the rate that used to pre-patch. And again, this is alarming. This is very concerning. Already into the game, we're 10 days in or 9 days in, and we have this many problems in the stats, which affect gameplay, then pull rates, which affect, people wanting to play the game. I don't know. I really hope that they address this quick and get this fixed and figure out what is going on and why it's like this, and just fix it. Just fix it, 2K. Get this game back to the hype that it was before this patch, because this patch absolutely ruined a lot of things in the game. And pretty much everything in the game, because the game's based all around stats. It's based all around collecting cards. It's based all around, being able to win games. And the fact that they have completely messed up the stats, completely messed up the pull rates, I guess, and the AI's deck is harder to beat now because they still have pre-patch cards in them. I'm scared. I'm concerned. I am seriously concerned. But anyways, let me know your thoughts below. Hopefully we get some word and hopefully they fix it. But until next time, guys, hopefully this gets addressed. I don't know what else to say about it, but I'll see y'all next time. I am out. Peace.